We're going to strengthen our hip flexors in this class. You will need 2 blocks and some wall space. Set up in a stacked lunge position with one hand on the wall, same side as the front leg. So from here, we're going to come into hip flexion and strengthen that aspect of our hip flexors first. So you can use your free hand to pull yourself into your deepest expression of hip flexion. Squeeze your hip flexors here and just feel what that feels like to fully squeeze and engage through hip flexors, squeezing your quad into your body. Squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. In just a little bit, we're gonna let go and straighten our leg. So watch me first. You stay here just squeezing through the hip flexor and letting go, straightening, and failing with discipline. Let's do that 4 times together. Squeeze through the hip flexor first, then let go, straighten, and fail with discipline. Doing great. 3 more. Squeeze in, engage with that hip flexor, let go, and fail with discipline. It's okay if the leg isn't totally straight. We're just using it as a weight. In, squeeze, let go, add load, and fail with discipline. It's just like coming off of your apparatus. You want to make it pretty even though it maybe feels crappy because you're done with the combo. Up, squeeze, let go, squeeze more, and let it go. Let's switch sides. Just to note, it's okay if you feel your standing leg working a lot to help stabilize the situation. Totally fine, as long as you're still getting that squeeze situation happening in the front leg. So let's go. Same side leg as the working, same side arm as the working leg is on the wall. This outside hand is gonna help pull it in, connect with that hip flexor, feel what it feels like to squeeze, pull into your deepest expression. Actually pull like I'm there watching you. Try to impress yourself with getting that deep range of motion. Squeeze through that hip crease and then squeeze through the hip flexor. Let go, straighten, and fail with discipline. 3 more. Up. Squeeze through the hip flexor first. Connect the mind to the muscles. Let go, add load, and fail with discipline. 2 more. Up. Squeeze. Let go, add load, control the way down. 1 more. Up. Squeeze. Let go, and fail slowly and controlled on the way down. Okay, let's get into a single leg pike position, into almost our deepest expression of hip flexion. We're still working hip flexors and hip flexion for this exercise. So we want to come down into what feels like full passive range and then back off like 6 or so inches from there. So if your full passive range of hip flexion is like past your body, which is why we have the leg out to the side so it's not in the way, then you can put blocks under your heels and push your body around the inside of your leg and down to the floor. Whew. The first thing like really got me. There's like a lot of breathing going on and I apologize for that. It's very intimate for us in this class together. So, okay, let's all start on the right leg just for continuality's sake. Into your full passive range, whatever that looks like for you. Back off about 6 inches. We're all gonna do this together, so no demo, we're just diving right in. We're backed off about 6 inches. Flex through your foot and lightly lift your leg off. Rotate toes out and in. Keep your leg light on the floor. No hunching through the back. Out and in. 1 more time. Out and in, and set it down. Let's go other side. Feel out where your full hip flexion is on this side. Training rotation at the end range. So fun. All right, so this feels like full passive range for me. I hope you're in yours. Back off about 6 inches. Flex the foot. Leg gets light on the floor. It's rotating out and in. Keep it light on the floor. Out and in. Arch in the low back, no hunching. Out 1 more time and in one more time. I think that's the hardest hip flexor drill ever. It's a lot going on. Flexion and rotation, which is important because we want options in our hip flexion, yeah? Okay, let's get into a stacked lunge. Again, just for all of us being on the same side, let's have right leg in front, left leg in back. We're gonna be here for 2 minutes. My timer on. And we're just gonna recover and breathe and be grateful that we're not doing end range rotational drills. Yay. So focusing on this back leg now. We are gonna be focused on strengthening our hip flexors while hip flexors are in extension, while we have our leg back behind us, because I think a lot of hip flexor drills focus on strengthening the leg through flexion, but we also need to contract so as hip flexor tissues while our leg is back behind us. So that's what we're gonna do in a couple of these drills. But first, we're gonna stretch and make sure that we're working into the full range that our nervous system is capable of giving us in terms of hip extension, because that's where we want the strength to happen, is in our full expression of hip extension. So I'm gonna chill out for another minute or so, and I'll explain what we're gonna do first. So first we're gonna do Pale's rails for the back leg. So that means pushing the knee forward. I'm doing it right now, I'm not moving, so you won't either. Isometric, pushing the knee forward. We'll work through our intensities there, and then pulling through the glute, pulling the hips lower. You might see a little bit of movement on that last contraction through the glute, but again, we're just trying to work ourselves into full expression of our hip flexor. This is the only like glute strengthening thing that we'll do, because a lot of like hip extension work gets glute strength attention and not enough end range contractile attention in the hip flexor tissues. Okay, that's happening in 10 seconds. You're gonna push the knee down and forward, so isometrically contracting the hip flexor tissues while they're on stretch. In 5, 4, 3, it's gonna be gentle to start. 2, 1. Just a little, like 1 out of 5. Scale of 1 to 5, we're going 1 first. Pushing the leg down into the floor and contracting the hip flexor forward. Contracting the knee forward as we contract the hip flexor. Now let's go a little bit more. Push 2 out of 5 effort. And then 3 out of 5 effort. 4 out of 5 effort. It's like you're trying to fight your way out of the stretch. And then 1, 2, 3, it's 5 out of 5 effort. Press that knee down, press that knee forward for 2, 1, and relax into your full range. You can use blocks to help if the load of your body feels like a lot. We're just concerned about the range. Okay, from here, only glute strengthening will do. Start at a 1 out of 5, squeeze the glute, press the hip down and forward towards the front heel. Then let's go 2 out of 5 more. I tried to make my own version of percentages there. And then we'll go 3 out of 5, pulling your groin down to the floor. 4 out of 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 5 out of 5. Squeeze through the glute. Push that hip forward for 2 and 1. Yes. Okay, last thing that we'll do on this side, and then we'll switch and do it all again on the other side. So we're gonna be in a stacked lunge and pull ourselves down from where we just came from. So we start stacked, pelvis tucked, all that stuff, and pull ourselves down. Easy enough. That's what it's gonna look like. There is something else going on though in this drill to give us just a little bit more input into that lengthening tissue. So you are gonna be fighting yourself, kind of like you were in the first contraction of the last drill. So as you pull yourself down, you are going to be pushing your knee down and forward. So as I pull myself into the lunge, I'm fighting with this back leg, almost like I'm trying to stop myself from going into the lunge. Contracting, contracting, contracting those tissues in every degree of lengthening that I can get. Sound good? Yes. Let's do it. Starting tucked, press the top of the back foot into the floor, press the knee down and forward. This stuff is contracting. It's trying to fight us. as we lower down into the lunge. We're only doing 3 of these. So 3 really high quality reps. Push that knee forward. Lengthen, 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 and contract, contract, contract. Keep contracting. Try to get that maximal strength input, especially towards the end range. I know it's so hard to push your knee down and forward towards the end range. Just do your best. Your best is your 100%. It all counts. And then let's come on out. Rep number 2, pressing the back of the top of the back foot into the floor, pressing the knee down and forward. Contracting through those hip flexors, squeezing those muscle fibers as they lengthen. The opposite of what you want to do when you're trying to relax into the stretch. So think of it that way. Squeezing, fighting. Contractile force in the tissues as they lengthen down. This is the last thing we're doing here, so really squeeze in that end range and come on out. Take any wiggles you need between sides. I know that's a lot on the left knee. We're gonna switch and never be on that left knee again. It'll be great. All right, let's go left side. So left leg in front, right leg in back. I know we're stretching the right hip flexor, but I always think of this as like left side, because the left side, this would be like your left side split. My brain is stuck in contortion land sometimes. Okay, coming down into our full passive range for hip flexor. It does not need to be perfectly square, so I do not care if your right hip is like splaying out. The lighting is probably not showing you exactly what's happening, but you can see both of my butt cheeks. I do not have my hips driving straight down the driveway. There's a little bit of trunk driving going on, and it's all fine. So we've been here for about 25 seconds. So we'll be here for about another 90 seconds, allowing gravity and the weight of our body to help us down into that right hip flexor stretch. And then we're gonna do that same thing, that pails and rails contraction. So it's gonna be push and pull isometrically. Nothing's happening. I'm going to show you again, like kind of exaggerated, pushing and pulling. But again, the shape is not going to change that much. It's just going to be squeezing through the tissues on the right side hip flexor. Another minute here. Finding your deepest range for hip extension. The position you're in might change over time, just as your nervous system kind of lets more range become available. All right, our first squeeze, so knee pushing down and forward, is coming up in about 20 seconds. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Press that back knee down and forward. Contract that hip flexor in end range. It's just gentle to start, like 20%. And then let's ramp it up 40%, then 60, 80. And then here we go, 1, 2, 3, squeeze through that hip flexor as much as you possibly can. Your 100% effort for 2, 1, and let it go. Release, let body weight and gravity help you down into your deepest expression. And now left glute is gonna push that hip forward towards that left heel. Sorry, right glute's gonna push the hip forward towards the left heel. 20% to start, squeeze. If you're using blocks like I am, maybe your elbows change how much they're bending as you squeeze to 40%. It'll be so slight, but look for the changes, look for the micro changes. 60% squeezing that right glute. 80% almost max effort, and then here we go, 1, 2, 3, big squeeze time. Push that hip down and forward for 2 and 1, and come on out. Let's go same thing, kinetic stretch. So it's eccentrics. We're loading with our intention of pressing the back foot down, the back knee down and forward, and just giving that hip flexor a little bit of load as it stretches. So think of this as like the same concept as how your glutes are loaded when you hinge back into a deadlift as you lengthen. We're trying to get that same form of input, but there's not really like a lift that exists for this. So we're doing this. It's great. All right, 3 times. Big focus, big energy. Push the back of the top, the front of the top foot. Oh my gosh. The top of the back foot into the floor. Drive the knee down and forward, and then pull yourself into your deepest lunge. Still big focus, still big energy, even though your instructor doesn't know words. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Down into your deepest expression. Squeezing contraction, even at the end range. Squeeze, push into your deepest range, and come on out. Let's go. Push the top of the back foot into the floor. There it is. The knee forward and down, fighting like you're trying to stop yourself from getting into this deep lunge. And then let's go last rep. Try to contract a part of your psoas, of your hip flexor complex, that maybe you haven't been contracting for the first 2 reps. Try and find that in your mind's eye and say muscle fibers, squeeze, contract, all the motor units helping to contract hip flexor as we're in this deep position, and let it go. We're gonna finish up with some side lying cars to kind of like hit save on these hip flexor gains. So I'm gonna have a block under my head and have my top arm here and this is my bottom arm here and my top arm here, just to kind of like stop my torso from moving around. And then from here, top leg foot is gonna flex and we're gonna squeeze into our deepest range. Leg towards your body, body towards your leg. And then we're gonna externally rotate, foot down, knee up as much as possible. Keep this angle with your shin as you open up to a frog position. Open, open, open. Keep externally rotating. Keep the knee where it is and now internally rotate. Do not squeeze through that top oblique. Keep the side body long. Try and get your foot to disappear behind your knee while keeping your knee where it is. Now, hip extension, hip flexors on stretch. As we stay in internal rotation, we kick the leg behind us and finish. Reverse. Kick the leg behind, internally rotate, knee down, foot up, and now kick the ceiling, internal rotation, top of the oblique, stay long, and pull that knee to your ear, and bring it back home. One more time this side, squeeze through the hip flexor, act like there's a $100 bill in between your quad and your body, and I'm trying to steal it. Really squeeze, externally rotate, and take it out to the side, still externally rotating. 4 corners of the torso, do not move. Squeezing through side butt, really open that knee. And then keep the knee where it is. Try and get the foot to disappear while keeping that top oblique long. Still keeping the top oblique long, kick behind you, internal rotation, and finish. Kick behind you again, internal rotation, foot high, knee low. In this position, bring your foot up to the sky. And then back through external rotation and to the front. Other side, I'm going to show you a different view just so you can get the full picture. Stabilize through the 4 corners of your torso. Flex your feet so you don't have to think about them. They know what to do. And then pull that knee into your body. Pull, 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 pull. And then externally rotate. Knee high, foot low. And then frog position. And then internally rotate. Try and get that foot to disappear behind the knee, squeezing through the outside booty. And then kick it behind you. Knee down, foot high, still an internal rotation. And hip extension. And then finish up, kick back. We're reversing now. Knee low, foot high. Take it up. And back through external rotation and flexion. One more like this. Pull that knee into your body extra tight and externally rotate. Swoop it out to the side. Out, 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 out. Keep your sits bones stacked one on top of the other. And then foot behind the knee. and kick it back behind you. Finish the circle and hip extension. Pelvis stays neutral, only the femur and the shin are moving. And then internal rotation, take it away from center line and back through external rotation and to the front. Thanks for joining me. Hope this illuminated some new spots in your hip flexor complex. I'll see you in the next class.